honest, none of them could really sing very well. I didn't realize that back in the day. It all sounded good to me. I guess I was smoking a lot of pot back in the 70s. Later on, after about 15 years of not listening, I put the record back on, I think sometime in the 1990s, and I was like, oh my God. I thought there was something wrong with my record player because the voices sounded terrible. It had to be there, I guess. Good morning, and welcome to a special edition of the Clarion Call Reactions and Opinions. Today we celebrate the life of the fellow on the screen, Mr. Bob Weir, one of the last surviving members of the Grateful Dead. The only two guys that are still alive from the classic Dead lineup are the two drummers, which I take some satisfaction in since I was a rock and roll drummer back in the day, so maybe drummers do live longer. Bob was actually the youngest member of the group. He was 15 years old, I believe, when he first met Jerry Garcia. At that time, Jerry was a banjo player. He was later able to develop those finger-picking licks into some of the most amazing guitar playing that anyone has ever seen. I picked for today the iconic song Truckin', which Bob sang the lead for. Let's play a little bit of that, and then we can talk about the background of how this all happened.
Like the dude on man together, oh, that's in life. Just keep trucking. Oh, Here's a neon and flashing monkeys up on Main Street. Chicago, New York, Detroit, and it's all the same street. Typical city involved in a typical dead dream. Up and see what tomorrow brings. Dallas, from a self machine. Houston, the coast to New Orleans. New York, got the ways and means. He just won't let you be. Oh no.
Too close to New Orleans because New Orleans was where the big drug bust occurred in January of 1970. The Dead were playing down there. When they got back to their hotel after the concert, the cops were sitting there waiting for them. They'd already searched their rooms. They claimed that they knew the bus was coming and that he didn't have anything in the room, but the cops framed him with some stuff anyway, and then had a great time arresting the entire band, parading them before the newspaper photographers, and putting them in jail for about 8 hours. By the time they made bail, the band was practically broke, and they had to do an extra concert in New Orleans to raise money so they could keep traveling on. My experience with the Dead goes back even a little farther than 1970. I first saw them for New Year's Eve at the Winterland Garden in San Francisco of 68-69. And then later on in 69, I went to see them a number of times at a very small venue out by the beach there called Family Dog at the Beach. They would play there in midweek with very little advertising. It was a very small venue. I think it was an old skating rink. It only held maybe 300 people, and most of the time it wasn't even full. Maybe 150 people, and you could walk right up to the band. There was no crowds or anything. That was probably the last time I remember seeing the Grateful Dead. I didn't follow them in later years when they became the big touring, selling out arenas and stuff. I wasn't actually a Deadhead then. But I got most of my Deadhead stuff in the summer of 69, and I love the group. Now this fella here playing the keyboards, Brent Myland, I think, he's like the fourth keyboard player. They had bad luck with their keyboard players. The original one, Pigpen, of course, died from alcoholism very early on. And then a guy by the name of Tom Constantin was playing with them when they were busted down New Orleans, and that was enough for him. he decided that he didn't need that, and he left the group. Then they had another keyboarder, Keith Gottschall, who played for a while. And then this guy, as I say, was their fourth keyboarder. He later died of a heroin overdose. The band had their problems with drugs over the years, and of course Jerry Garcia had been addicted to heroin. During most of the time right before this particular live show was recorded in 1987. I chose this later Dead because it was the only one I could find that had really good video quality of Bob and the band. There's a lot of earlier live recordings, but everything is very fuzzy. It's not professionally recorded.
Most of the cats you meet in the street think of true love. Most of the time they're sitting and crying at home. One of these days they know they better be going out of the door and down the street alone. Truckin' like the dude on man once told me, you got to play your hand. Sometimes you cry it with a dime if you don't lay it down. Oh, no.
And of course, that's probably one of the most famous lines of any Grateful Dead song, "What a long, strange trip it's been." Missing from the video, he's playing in the background there, is the bassist Phil Lesh. And to me, Phil was the rock bottom of the group as far as the experimentation that they frequently did with long jams. He was a classically trained musician, so he really knew what he was doing. Jerry was a great guitarist. Phil was a great bassist. That was the core of the sound. Bobby played rhythm guitar. To be honest, none of them could really sing very well. I didn't realize that back in the day. It all sounded good to me. I guess I was smoking a lot of pot back in the 70s. Later on, after about 15 years of not listening, I put the record back on, I think sometime in the 1990s, and I was like, oh my God. I thought there was something wrong with my record player because the voices sounded terrible. The harmonies were not there. They were out of key a lot of time. And I thought, is this the same group? Is this the same record I used to love? I couldn't quite understand it. You know, they got a lot of criticism for that in recent times. The people that weren't there at the beginning, didn't experience the electric energy of the band, criticized the sound, and with good reason, really. But if you were there in the beginning and you heard them jam for half an hour on Dark Star or something like that, which they did frequently, it had to be there, I guess. But that was the core of the Dead, was the improvisational musicianship, not so much the singing.
What in the world ever became a sweet jam? She lost her funky and no, she isn't the same. Living on crack and vitamins and cocaine. Well, a friend can say it's a fucking shame.
Now that's the one time in this song where Bob changes the lyrics. The original lyrics said, living on Reds, vitamin C, and cocaine. He changed that to living on crack, vitamin E, and cocaine. And then the final line there, all a friend could say is, isn't it a shame? He changed that to, it's a fucking shame. There were a lot of cases like Mary Jane who strung out on drugs along the way. You know what happens. I guess that's Phil there playing, it looks like about a 6-string bass. I didn't realize he did that. If you listen to what he's doing, he's so progressive in that, you know, setting the rhythm and pushing the envelope there of the music. He died last year, of course, and so now the core group is all gone other than the drummers. But they'll probably still continue to tour because their music will live forever.
Would I like to get some sleep before I travel? But if you got a warrant, I bet you're gonna come busted down the Bourbon Street, set up like a boating pin, knocked down, gets to wear it thin, but just won't let you be.
So there's the the famous lines about being busted down on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. Eventually, all those charges were dropped. The only thing they got out of it was this song, which is a good monument to it. That's Bill Kreutzmann there, the original drummer, who is still living. And to his right, I think, is Mickey Hart. They innovated the idea of two drummers. When I was in my rock and roll band in college, we followed their lead.
So you're sick of hanging around and you like to travel. You're tired of travel and you want to settle down. Well, I guess they can't revoke your soul for trying. But out the door, out the bar. Sometimes the lights all shining on me. But at times I can barely see.
For some reason, the video cut off here, which is probably just as well. They went on for about 3 more minutes of jamming, but in the interest of keeping this video short, I probably would have cut that off anyway. This is not the time or the place. This is about remembering Bob Weir and the other past members of one of the greatest psychedelic bands. Looking back on the whole thing, I think their first album that came out around 1967 was actually, as far as musicianship, it was as tight as the band ever was. I love that first album. And then they got more psychedelic, and I think as they did, they lost a step. But people love a lot of the classic songs, Sugar Magnolia, Box of Rain. There's dozens of great songs that came out over the years. The Grateful Dead joined the band where all of the former members are now gone, and it's kind of sad to see for someone my age at 75. I kind of related to Bobby because he was only 3 years older than me. Jerry was a lot older. The life on the road was tough, and this is their iconic road song. It summed up a lot of what life was on the road there back in their heyday. But thank you guys for all the beautiful music along the way.